Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shills, nutslers, arspeds, and spazzles, minions. Welcome. I'm a useful idiot. Today I want to talk about Ukraine again, and I purposely didn't add this other story about 400 Academi mercenaries being used in Ukraine. I purposely didn't add that to my other video about Ukraine today, in the present state of Ukraine. That was because I think this story stands on its own for some importance. And the basic story is that there's a documented communication at the highest levels of German government and intelligence. And these were published in reputable German papers about this. And supposedly the information was provided by US intelligence to German government and intelligence. So the sources seem to be what you would call reputable. And so the basic premise, 400 Academi, this is a paramilitary organization, private army. It used to go under the name Blackwater. It's changed hands and names several times, and they try to distance themselves from the past, but it's still the same organization. And needless to say, the United States is still using members of these organizations in Iraq and Afghanistan as well. And one of the reasons why I think this story is important because it makes sense. The fact is the Ukraine government doesn't seem to have any full military units, or certainly any police units that they can rely on in order to make these offensives in the eastern provinces. And so it makes all the more sense that they would hire private army, somebody that gets paid to do what they do. And it also sounds like something that U.S. intelligence would do. I'd be surprised if U.S. intelligence is not involved with this. The FBI and CIA are already there. We already know that the CIA met with the Kiev government, and those elements are already involved in Ukraine. So it's not that much of a stretch. And 400 of these private mercenaries is a pretty formidable force. So the fact that the Ukraine government can just pay them, they will also have enough reliability. They will get the job done because the Ukraine cannot afford too many other failures, military failures in the field, because it will only encourage the resistance in these separatist regions, these seceded regions. And the fact that private armies are being used more and more by the U.S. military is the focal point of the story, and why I wanted to separate it out from the other story about Ukraine, because this is an important ingredient in future conflicts that the United States is going to be involved in, particularly this blueprint we're seeing in country after country through the Middle East and now the Ukraine of destabilization, and one of the destabilization, and also being able to play public relations games and plausible deniability by saying U.S. military aren't involved when instead we're using mercenaries. The other thing too is we have these are professionals, all the guys that used to be in special forces and special operations all around the globe are joining these private armies and making huge salaries, and they get the job done. And to give good evidence of the reliability of these forces to governments all over the world, we have even the United States that doesn't trust its own military to guard its diplomats and people overseas. They hire these mercenaries and private contractors, as they call them. And that's one of the sides of Afghanistan and Iraq that we see as well, where we have a war in Afghanistan where half of the U.S. presence there is in mercenaries and private contractors. So this is an important ingredient in future wars. These wars that transcend all borders and all legalities of war. So we have drones, which are certainly questionably legal, and then the use of mercenaries, which is technically outlawed, and putting these private special forces that have no accountability and no visibility, for the most part, taking care of these regional conflicts all over the globe. And as I pointed out in previous videos, and have also talked about this occurring in numerous countries around the globe. This is another example of that, a very complicated example, because if this story turns out to be true, it will become known, and it could be very provocative indeed. And it just adds to the fact that the United States, if they're involved in this, it's a very clumsy thing to do, very predictable thing to do, and it could have very interesting consequences. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.